What's up, everybody? Welcome to Take No Offense, a couple of old friends who grew up together in Pennsylvania. Now we live on opposite sides of the country, getting together to share our thoughts on politics, sports, movies, and TV. I'm Eric Messersmith in the LA area, Brian Johnson in suburban Washington, D.C. What's up, buddy?
Not much, dude. Never a moment to rest in an election year. It's something all the time. It's amazing.
Yeah, especially this election year. So today, Kamala Harris made her choice, and it was not who I talked about on the program last week, Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, who I think would have been the best choice. It was actually a dark horse candidate, Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota. He wasn't a dark horse the last few days, but when way back 2 weeks ago, when Biden stepped out, he wasn't one of the main people mentioned, but he really came out of nowhere. And he did it on the strength of some of the media appearances he made, where he was pretty effective in criticizing the Trump and Vance ticket. He's the one who started the whole "they're weird" thing that has really caught
Yes.
on among Democrats. So he
The
is now the
GOP
man.
ticket is weird.
Yeah. So look, I don't think most people outside of Minnesota, I mean, I watched this stuff pretty closely, and I'm up until the last few days, I was not familiar at all with Tim Walz. So do you have any thoughts on him? Do you know anything about him? Any
If
read
Tim
on this pick?
Walz walked into my house right now and sat on my lap, I would be like, "Sir, what are you doing on my lap?" I don't know anything about Tim Walz. I think doing a show like this is very important to be honest with people. I will
Yes.
learn about Tim Walz. I'm sure there's a lot to learn about all the candidates, whether it's a Senate race or congressional race. But dude, I don't live in Minnesota. I do have family in Minnesota, but I don't know anything about Tim Walz.
Well, you're not alone. I think that was true probably for the vast majority of people, like I said, especially outside of the last few days. So he and Harris just completed their first event together in Philadelphia. I watched Walz' speech. Look, he's a folksy rural guy. Like, he's from rural Minnesota. He represented a congressional district there that was a Trump congressional district. And then he ran for governor of Minnesota in 2019, won, and he's been pretty progressive, which that kind of makes him unique. He's a pretty progressive guy, but he's this, like, middle-aged white dude from rural America. So he hunts, he fishes, he was a school teacher, a football coach. So it's an interesting profile. He did not go. In fact, he did not go to an Ivy League school. In fact, he's the first. I read this day. He's the first candidate on a Democratic ticket who did not go. There's the first time a Democratic ticket will not have an Ivy League person since Carter in 1980. So that's how long it's been. So he went to a small college. He served in the military for a long time in the reserves, the National Guard.
That doesn't count.
So
A what? I'm
wow,
sorry.
24 years. He was like a major sergeant or something.
Oh,
But
whatever.
anyway, he started when he was 17, and I know as a Marine,
Yeah,
not
two
everyone is
weekends a
the few,
month or two a weekend, whatever, dude. Shut up.
not everyone is the few, the proud, the Marine. But anywho, the guy clearly has a way about him. He's a skilled politician. I won't deny that. I think Shapiro's better. I think Shapiro certainly would have given you more from an electoral standpoint, being the sitting governor of probably the most important state, the state that may decide the election. So I
Yes.
think this was a mistake for Harris, but I don't think
But
it's a
then
big
why?
mistake because vice presidents rarely matter.
Yeah, well, I've heard you and Charlie talk about this, how vice presidents rarely matter. I don't think media has been what it is before, so it may matter more than in previous elections. But generally speaking, to be clear, I do agree with you. Um, I guess as someone who appears on the TV and talks about this thing, I would ask you, what do you really? I don't know that you necessarily have insight. Maybe you do, but why do you think that this was the way to go? I mean, it seems like a pretty big contrast in terms of
Yeah, look, I think the reporting that I have heard from people who are obviously well more connected than I am and have good sources is that I think CNN was reporting this today, and I've seen this other places too, that the interviews over the weekend really are what sealed it. She really apparently connected with Walz.
Oh
I mean,
my
the
God.
guy from all indications is like very gregarious, fun guy, and people just really seem to like him. Has like a folksy way, humble way about him. And apparently they got along really well. I don't know if the Shapiro interview maybe didn't go quite as well. She had one-on-one interviews this weekend with Shapiro, with Walz, and then also with Mark Kelly,
What a
the
high
senator from
pressure
Arizona.
interview.
I know,
Would you
right?
like to serve in the executive office of the United States of America, which like so few people have served in? That has to be the high. Like I've had job interviews where I felt a little bit of pressure, but this has to be a pressure cooker of an interview.
So look, I don't deny. Look, I don't. I will. I believe that to probably be true. I think they're when when it comes down to it, it's that person, the candidate's choice, and who they feel that comfort level with is obviously the most important thing. But I do think that it's obviously a factor that Shapiro is Jewish, that he was in the IDF, and that
Oh, you
many,
think that?
many,
Okay, you're getting to what I wanted to know.
yeah, many people on the left, like the hardcore left, were not fans of his. They were fans of Walls, and they really lined up against Shapiro. Now, was there some anti-Semitism mixed into that? I think clearly there was. I don't want to say everyone making the argument against
Well,
Shapiro was doing it on the basis of anti-Semitism,
if you're
but
in Israel,
I think that played a factor.
you have to serve in the IDF.
Well, no, but I don't. I think he volunteered. I don't think he was.
How
forced. I
dare
think
he
when he was
volunteer to serve? Unbelievable!
I know, right?
What a mark on your record.
But
I don't know. It's weird.
You know,
I think that's interesting though that would be held against somebody. I
I
get it. I'm not Pollyanna. I'm not
Right.
some babe lost in the woods. I get it, but still, like that, I find that upsetting a little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, look, do I think that's the reason that Kamala Harris didn't choose him? No. But do I think it played a factor in the way that the online left, let's call them the really plugged in people, how anti Shapiro a lot of them were? Yeah, I think it did. I think it
But
did.
how many of
especially
those votes are you gonna lose? None.
Right. That's the point I've always tried to make.
That's so weird.
You might lose a few. I mean, yeah, maybe some, but a lot of those you've already lost. Like a lot of the
Yeah.
people mad as hell at the Democratic Party and Biden and this administration because they think they've been too supportive of Israel.
Yeah, vote for Republicans. See how that goes.
Well, right. Those people they're not going to vote for Trump either, but they're probably just not going to vote at all. Or they're going to write somebody in or vote for Cornel West or RFK. But yeah, I don't think I think Shapiro would have given you more than you would have lost. And he maybe would have helped give you the most important state, the state that it all may come down to. So in that regard, I think it's a mistake. But that said, I do like Walls. I think he'll play pretty well. But
Wisconsin, Michigan.
Yeah, he can go in there. Now look,
right.
the thing that I think Shapiro is more moderate, or at least is perceived to be more moderate. Walls is, again, despite his background, a pretty liberal guy. And I think Republicans, they've already started to attack him as another, wannabe big city liberal. They're saying like, she meaning Harris is a San Francisco liberal. He's a Minneapolis liberal. He was governor after while the George Floyd Black Lives Matter protests were going on, and the burning of Minneapolis, and he got a lot of flack for that. So that's something that will certainly be brought up. So there's some room to attack him for sure. I don't think it's a bad pick. It's not the pick I would have made. It probably won't make a difference, but you never know. If she loses by like 2 points in Pennsylvania, man, that's gonna be a tough one. It's gonna be a tough one to take.
That's a big. That's a lot of votes.
One other political topic I wanted to mention. You actually brought this up, and I had heard this too, that when Donald Trump was on a TikTok video the other day with a TikTok influencer, they were asking him about random celebrities and politicians, kind of like rapid fire. They asked him about AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the Democratic congressman from New York. And Trump actually said something surprising. He said about her, quote, "But in all fairness, she's got a good thing going. It's a good thing for her. She's got a spark that's pretty amazing, actually. She's got a good spark. I'll change it. I'll say spark. She's got a lot of sizzle." Interesting that Trump actually has something positive to say about AOC. It's not something I would necessarily have expected.
No. Given how vigorously AOC has attacked Trump and Republicans in general, and given how far apart they are ideologically, I think most people listening know that probably goes without saying. Look, I'm a liberal Democrat who's going to vote for Kamala Harris. I got to tell you, man, this is the part I love about Trump. Like, you just never know what he thinks or what he's going to say. And I'm actually going to give Trump credit, because though he does, as he often does, he doesn't articulate it perfectly. I totally agree with him. Like, that's why she has been successful. Like, her brand, and God, does Trump respect a good brand, has been
Yes.
very successful, and him
Yes.
acknowledging that, I know it's a weird thing to say in 2024, year of our Lord, where we are so far apart. I actually think it's a really cool thing that he did that.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think she, just like him, has been able to tap into something that's kind of in the vein of populism, obviously different sides of
Yeah,
that
oh,
coin.
very.
But the fact that they both have been able to do that in their own way, and also you're right, it is kind of branding. We know Trump is an expert at branding,
Yes.
and even before he got into politics. But AOC, she has made herself into something more than just liberal policy positions. And she's good. She is good. I think she's outside in 2024 of what I would consider to be the political mainstream in terms of winning a general election. I don't
Oh,
think
sure.
that's where America is in 2024, but
No.
things change. And sometimes things change fast, and you never know what kind of global forces or domestic forces are going to be unleashed. I mean, who would have ever thought Trump would have been president a year before he was, let alone 5 or 10 years earlier? So,
Right.
and she's very young. She's in her early 30s. So,
Yeah.
never say never that she could be a force on the national stage politically.
I mean, AOC is left of me, which is like, I mean,
Yeah, she's
that's
pretty
really
low.
saying something.
I wanted to.
Yeah.
No, go ahead. I
don't
was gonna
know.
say I wanted to turn to the Olympics. Did you have anything else on AOC?
No, we can talk about the pole vaulter's penis hitting off the bar and him losing, or the
How did I
photo
know
finish.
How did I know after what have we had 10 days of the Olympics or thereabouts? All of these events in all of these sports, all of the controversies, an incredible finish in the 100 meters, Simone Biles becoming the most decorated female gymnast ever. And you wanted to talk about the pole vaulter's penis. Explain for people who didn't see it. Explain. I think a lot of people have, but explain what you're talking about.
Well, first of all, my brother was a pole vaulter. He was he was a good pole vaulter for a
Yes.
period of time. He held the Pennsylvania state record, so I'm pretty familiar with pole vaulting. I tried to pole vault. God, is that hard, man? You got to be like super strong for that. I would say that the story is basically, it goes like this. A man leaped with a giant metal pole over a bar, and because his penis hit the bar and knocked it off, he lost in the Olympics. So I was listening to sports talk radio earlier, and the question was, would you trade a gold medal for a large penis? So what's funny is whoever won the gold is not the story. Like, I know that guy did great. He like set the world record, whatever, but everyone knows penis guy because that's how he lost. Anyway, I mean, like, it's kind of like the Turkish shooter guy. I don't know if you and I have talked about him yet.
Oh yes,
it's amazing.
I'm sure people have seen him on the memes. No fancy goggles, no fancy headphones,
just basic earplugs.
Yeah,
right. No, but my point being is like, no, I led with that because it's funny, but it is amazing how. I mean, the Olympics is back, baby. Like, America has really, if you look at the numbers, they're incredible. 35 million viewers. Like, NBC.
Is that what it is? Wow.
Oh, dude, NBC.
And we haven't even gotten into the heart of track yet, which will be all this week. And those are usually big events. And there's a lot of Americans going for gold in their various track and field events. No, I think you're right. We did a vibes check kind of before the Olympics started. And I remember us talking about it. We both were like, well, I was like not really interested now. Right. We're like, we're not interested now, but we will be. That was kind of the consensus. And that has totally happened. Like, I had almost no interest prior to it starting. And now I wouldn't say I'm at a 10, but I'm at like a solid 7 or 8. I'm checking it out. I caught myself, Brian, watching handball the other day, watching field hockey the other day, and not involving Team USA, by the way. I watched a little 3-on-3 basketball. Now, I want to be clear. I wasn't spending a long period of time, but I was just checking it out. And I've seen some of Simone Biles. I've seen a little bit of the swimming. I'll be watching the track this week. And of course, I watched Team USA men's basketball today as they blew out Brazil to get to the semifinals. So I'll probably watch some of those games as well. The U.S. into the semis, beat Brazil today, 122-87. But I think you're right. I think it's, by all accounts so far, I think it has been a tremendous success, both in terms of the events themselves and also kind of how it's caught on, especially when you consider the way it started with the extreme controversy of the opening ceremony.
Yeah, well, a lot of credit goes to the American athletes, for being outstanding performers. But I would say the other part of it is just NBC, the coverage that they have done. And the last one is the internet, man. The internet is an amazing thing. Like I don't even know the turkey shooter guy's name, but he's my Facebook. Like, what's that picture that you put behind your profile picture?
I believe
I
that's
don't.
called the cover photo.
Yes, the cover photo is him in Pulp Fiction because he has the same stance as Samuel L. Jackson and John Travolta. So I love that stuff. The 100 meters final was really cool. I'm sure you didn't check it out, but the final of the men's tennis tournament at Roland Garros between Djokovic and Alcaraz. I mean, it's not a 5-setter, so it's not going to go down in history. But in terms of like every point being fought tooth and nail, I mean, tiebreaker, Djokovic cried, dude. And his
Yes.
knee,
Oh,
like that was
that was unbelievable.
amazing.
He went
Like
into
it
the
was such a cool
box
moment.
and oh, it was wonderful. Like think about this man who has the record for the most major championships in men's tennis
He's the
history.
greatest ever.
He's the greatest player ever. And I've seen him get very emotional winning big tournaments before, but I've never seen him like that. Like he was a puddle. That is the power of the Olympics. And dude, it gets me every time, every 4 years. The Winter Olympics to some extent as well, but the summer even more so because I can relate more to the events, even though I've never done them, at a high level. At least I have done them.
Right.
I've never done the luge or even hockey.
You've never bobsledded, man?
No,
you
I've
never
never bobsledded. No,
I feel like
really
I'd
know.
be a good bobsledder. I really do. Because I'm a little heavy, so I could sit in the front and really give us some momentum. Or I'm a good pusher, man. I could give us some momentum going down that
Well,
thing.
I feel like a sport where you lay down or sit down for a large chunk of the competing is really an interesting sport if you think about it. It's like we're going to do a feat of athleticism. Oh, there's your lovely wife making a cameo. Hey, Trisha. Oh, she's stealing the bubbly from you.
Good for her.
If you're watching on YouTube. All right, Brian. So the Olympics, we both agree it's been great, but I do want to talk about the one controversy other than the opening ceremony, although
is this a triathlon where they all got sick?
No, this is I didn't even think of that from swimming in the river there. I know I'm talking specifically about the boxers, the female boxing.
Oh God, what a huge story!
You have had 2 boxers who have both advanced, I believe, into their gold medal matches now, who are competing in the female division. They are a born female, raised as females. They've been competing as females their whole lives, but a year ago, they were banned from a competition not sanctioned by the Olympics. I think it was the IOC. I think it was
the Russian IOC.
The Russian IOC. But it was because their chromosomes are apparently XY, which is the male chromosome. So if I don't know how familiar people are with this, but when I first read about this, you had a lot of people jumping on this, implying or saying that these were trans athletes, but they were not trans athletes. They did not transition. In fact, in one of the countries that
Algeria
from, Algeria, it's illegal to transition. So there was no transitioning here. These were people who were female the whole way, but they were born intersex, which means that they are biologically male, but female reproductive organs.
Anatomy.
And that happens with a not insignificant percentage of the population, which is one of the reasons the whole trans issue is so complex, is because not everybody is born clearly 100% male or 100% female. There are individuals like these 2 women who are intersex. And so I think the reason I said it reminded me a little bit of the opening ceremony controversy is because you had a similar situation where people rushed to a judgment, I feel like, before getting the facts. It just coming out assuming these people were trans when that wasn't true at all. It's a different kind of situation than people who were biological males, raised as males, competing as males, who then at the age of, I don't know, 14, 15, 17 said, I'm going to compete as a female now. Like, that is not what happened.
Yeah, it's not the swimmer with the penis and tits. Like, it's not that, which is what happened. And I just got done doing a whole thing about how the internet was amazing with some of these things. This is where the internet fails us every single time, because, our shows take no offense. You do a show with Charlie, everybody settle down. There's no time for nuance. There's no time to get the facts. There's no time to come to like an objective and reasonable conclusion to this. I'm not going to claim to be an expert on any of these things. It's not my wheelhouse. It's not where I come from. Yes, clearly there shouldn't be grown men beating the shit out of women in a ring. Like we all, well, I'll never say we all, but I think 99.9 repeating percent of us agree that that's a bad look for the Olympics, and that would be a bad look on humanity, right? We don't want to put me in there with a bunch of 100-pound females and I'm just punching them in the face repeatedly. That's like, no one wants that. So I was a little bit disappointed, but not surprised with the reaction to it. Everyone's just trying to fit into an agenda, make it a point. I really felt bad for the athletes who were competing, because to be clear, this is not something that they can help, which is why I have empathy for them. Like,
Right.
you're born a certain way. Like, okay, you're biologically a female. You have more testosterone than most females. It's a very complex issue. You chose the box. And I think the part for me that was really the most maddening is that these are not people, this is their first year in boxing. They have previously competed in Olympic events
Right.
and lost,
Yes.
and no one had a
lost.
problem with it.
Right.
Like, it was fine. But
Yeah.
now that they're winning, it's all of a sudden it becomes, and I can't remember the transgender person's name who's the swimmer that went to Penn.
Leah Thomas.
Yeah, Leah Thomas. Like, so we're all on the same page for you're listening to me. Leah Thomas should not be able to compete, like, at all.
I agree.
Like, it's preposterous, man. But this is not that, which is what people need to realize.
Right. To me, I'm pretty clear. I have a lot of empathy for the trans community. I couldn't even imagine.
No.
However, when we're talking about competition and we're talking about particularly, I don't care what they do when they're 8 or 10 or 12 years old, but a lot of times boys and girls play sports together at that age.
Sure.
Anyway.
Sebastian played with female tennis players when he was 10. Right. Try that when he's 15. Like, good luck.
And that is the reason. And that is why, because once somebody goes through male puberty, especially, they should not be able to compete against females. They should not be able to compete against females. They should only be able to compete against males or not at all. And I know some people disagree with that. I just think, look, we all make choices in life and you have to draw a line somewhere or else you get into this to the point of, Leah Thomas. And I know it doesn't happen a lot. I get that. Although, as we see with more and more people identifying as trans, I think it's going to be happening more and more. So I am totally against that. I'm actually with conservatives on that.
Yeah, me too.
However, on this issue, I think it's a lot more complicated. Here's where I would come down on it, because I do think it is an advantage when you are born with it. From what I'm no doctor, so maybe I'm wrong on this, but from what I've read, if you are born with the male chromosomes, then you do retain higher levels of testosterone,
of course,
more bone density, those kinds of things. So I think you need some type of test or standard. I don't want anybody looking at anybody's body. That's no.
But dude, that's the thing. If you have a vagina, you're a woman.
I think a blood test where you tested for testosterone levels. And if somebody had an extremely high testosterone level that a woman born with XX chromosomes would not have, then I think that is something. Because look, we do that with men athletes too, to a certain degree, with testosterone for performance enhancing drugs.
But
why? Because we recognize very, very high testosterone levels give someone a competitive.
But this is where we're going to disagree. This is one of the things we are actually going to disagree on the show, right? Yao Ming is 7'7". That's not fair. I'm 6'2". I have to play basketball against him. Like, what do you want me to do against Yao Ming? Like, because he's taller than me. And I know, like, look, if you say it's not apples to apples, like, I'll hear you out on that. I'm just saying that if you have a vagina and you can reproduce with a uterus, you're a female.
Well, look, again, I'm not a doctor, so I don't want to make any bold medical statements here that may not be 100% true.
You think that was too bold? I think that's obvious.
No, what I'm about to say. But what I have read is that people with this condition aren't necessarily able to reproduce in many cases, because although, and again, this is not my field of expertise, I'm just saying what I've read, because although they may have certain organs, they may not necessarily be functional. So I think it's very complex is my point.
Oh
It's not
no,
as
we
simple
agree
as
on
saying,
that.
yeah.
Now
So
we're landing in the same spot, buddy.
but I feel bad for these two women. I mean, they're clearly women. They should be treated as women. Whether or not they should be able to compete against other women, I think is a very legitimate question.
Mhm.
Unlike the person, as you pointed out, like Leah Thomas, who I definitely do not
No.
think should be able to compete against women.
I mean, I
I
don't mind
really,
saying it. People can attack me if they want, but it's ridiculous.
no, I think, look, you and I are on the same page there, but this is different. I have a lot of sympathy for these two women, and I would be interested in learning more and trying to see if there is a way we could come up with some type of standard that might be reasonable. And I think that's probably what will end up happening. I mean, there are other bodies in sports that do this, that come up with various tests to determine what is fair. Because as you pointed out, there are natural differences in biology, right?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I mean, LeBron James is a freak of nature physically, right?
That's not
But
fair.
that's but then you could also argue that Leah Thomas had advantages as well, but those advantages shouldn't disqualify Leah Thomas from competing against women.
That's
I
not the same
disagree.
thing.
I
Yeah.
think those advantages cross the line.
Right.
So
When
the
your
point is
shoulders are broader than mine, that's how I measure.
I think the point is always, where is the line? And with these kind of issues with intersex people, I think it's really complicated. And I want to learn more. And I think we need to have a full discussion about this.
I do
All
feel
right,
for
bro.
the athletes, though, man. I feel like they
Oh,
were very much
absolutely.
unfairly attacked.
Yes.
I mean, I am constantly
Oh.
disappointed with that side of the media in our country. Just, I mean, I hate to be like this way, but God, shame on them. What a bunch of fucking pricks.
And look, X, which is the main social media that I consume by far. I mean, there's nothing else that I consume even close to but as much as I do X. So it may be different on other social medias, but I especially like since Elon Musk has taken over on things like this, it's kind of become a bit of a cesspool. And you get this kind of reaction, and I don't see a lot of these people apologizing later when they learn
No.
more or
That was so
clarifying their
measured. A
remarks.
bit of a cesspool. Dude, it's on the outhouse toilet in hell. That's where the extreme comes through. Like,
You
if
know
I
what,
go
though?
to hell, they're gonna be like, look, man, there's no internet access here, but you have X.
You know what, though? The reason I was a little bit careful when I said it is because obviously I'm still on it, even though I see this, because there is still like really good stuff on X. And there are
No,
people
there
that
is.
I really respect and follow. So it's not completely gone, but on things like this, it goes down a dark path pretty fast. And people
Listen.
have no sense of,
No.
of
Number
of
one
trying
is
to find any kind of context.
no. Number one is the Yahoo comment section. They actually banned Yahoo comments for a long
Really? I
time.
don't think I ever read this.
Dude, Yahoo comments was like 4chan. Like, it was unbelievable. So they got rid of the comments and they brought them back with like heavy moderation because they realized that they had to. Right after that is X. Like, I know that it serves a necessary purpose. I get what Elon Musk is trying to do. It's just, like I said, it's on the outhouse in hell. I think that's what you get, man.
Yeah,
It's
maybe
bad.
it would, because of his brand. We talk about brand because of his brand and how he's perceived and the way he's conducted himself. Maybe it was never possible to have a more neutral forum. But I do think when he first took over, there was a period there where X was, I think, fairly balanced ideologically right after he took over. And I saw, to people getting into debates, and yeah, some of it was dark and nasty, but some of it was like good, legitimate debate. And I thought, well, man, maybe this could be good. But then, obviously it went the way it went, and it's probably never coming back. It's probably too much to ask that we can have any outlets in our media, in television, or I guess print, or on the internet, any media outlets that can have all kinds of points of view roughly equally represented in like rational discussion. I don't think it's possible.
I mean, Twitter's always, or Twitter, X is always viewed as like the public square. The problem is that the loudest voices get the most views. So I mean, that's always going to be kind of the case. And I'm not blaming Elon Musk for that. That just kind of is what it is. I just think it has descended into like nonsense, for the lack of, like, I don't find as much value in it as maybe you do. Because I just think it's kind of like let me go the other way. Jamel Hill, who's a writer for ESPN, she's on Twitter. I follow her on Twitter. literally anything that happens in sports that's about race, I know what her opinion is going to be.
Right.
I don't
Oh, yeah.
need to follow her on Twitter. I don't need to follow Sarah Spain. Like, I know what their opinions are. All males are misogynistic and we're evil. Got it. Thanks for
Yeah.
repeating the same thing over and over again. And then on the political side, you have Ben Shapiro, which actually, like, I think if you had an honest conversation with Ben Shapiro, it might be a decent dude, but like he's just a disgrace on X. And then you have the even further than that, you have the Charlie Kirks, who like what are we doing out here? Spreading conspiracy theories? Like, what a prick. I hate
Yeah.
that guy so
Yeah,
much.
the way I mainly use it, there's about 10 or 15 people in various fields, some sports, some politics, that some like a couple of economists that I really think give incredibly useful information. And I spend most of my time following their feeds, but I do venture into the For You area sometimes and let it scroll for a while. And then I have to take a shower after that. Oh, Brian's got the fly swatter out for those of you viewing on YouTube.
Yeah, we're good. We're good.
All right. I want to say, I have a little bit of a time constraint tonight. I want to save a lot of time for this. The season finale of Game of Thrones, Brian, aired 2 days ago. I'm going to let you give your take, but I'll just set it up like this.
Go ahead.
By the way, spoiler alerts ahead.
Oh, so many.
That episode, the whole season in general, but in particular that episode, was like great foreplay. Okay. I was really ready. Okay. I was there. And then it went to black and rolled the credits.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, for me, a tremendous disappointment.
Tremendous
disappointment. I was like, is that really? This is how you're ending it? I don't know, man. That I was so riled up and ready. They had me. And then they just let me down. Not in like a cool cliffhanger kind of way. You know, this wasn't a Who Shot JR. Wow, that was a really dated reference. That was even a little bit.
You're 100 years old.
For those of you who are senior citizens, you might get that reference. but it was just like all this build up. And you and I talked about it this year with the Harrenhal stuff of Daemon and how that kind of dragged on. His daughter looking for the dragon. Like, I want to be clear. I like this season. It was well executed in so many ways. I liked it way better than season one. I think it was really, really a good show, a good season. But man, did they disappoint me at the end. What were your thoughts?
I'm a bit shocked by your reaction from the perspective that I'm ready for season 3 and we already knew a season 3 was coming. And so as a setup for season 3, I think they did a fantastic job. I think they paid off the Daemon stuff. In that Daemon, when we met him in season 1, and certainly through the beginning of season 2, was very brash, very sure of himself. I think he did have a little bit of moral back and forth about his relationship with his brother. But when I said it's paid off, like him in the Godswood seeing basically, Game of Thrones, because that's what he saw in his vision there at the end coming true. I thought that was an excellent payoff for what they went through with Matt Smith playing Daemon. I mean, Matt Smith's a great actor. I think he did a great job. I think that scene in the Godswoods was phenomenal. I think getting Rhaenyra back together with Alicent at the,
yes.
I mean, that's a little bit of fan service, a little bit. And okay,
because that did not happen in the book, correct? That scene did not take place in the book.
No, because who would have known about it, right? Except like maybe members of Rhaenyra's Kingsguard. I think that was a little bit of fan service. I think part of them wanted to just get Rhaenyra and Alicent in a room together. But to say that scene is not intriguing, I think would be unfair. I think Alicent is really coming to grips with the fact that she's cooked and she regrets a lot of the decisions that she's made. Now that they are severely outnumbered, Aemon is off the deep end with Godzilla over there, just burning down cities because he's angry. I think she knows he's not fit. And then, you got Aemon running away with Strong.
Aegon running away.
I'm sorry. What did I say? Aemon?
Yeah.
Aegon running away there with Lucerys. I mean, dude, I thought it was a great episode. I thought it was an excellent season finale. I really enjoyed the season. Am I fanboying the entire thing? I'd like to think that I can be objective about these things. Like, do I love the show? Yes. I love the acting. I love the writing. I love the show. I know what they're going. I mean, when Better Call Saul does a slow burn, everyone's like, this show's great. But all of a sudden, the Dragon Show does a slow burn with political intrigue and internal relationships. It's crap. I don't think I can buy into that, man. I
Well, no,
really enjoyed the finale.
The reason I was disappointed is because I liked it so much and I thought the execution was so good. And I agree with you on the Damon thing. I thought that it was a little slow during the year, but I think they really paid it off in a good way. I really like the introduction of that new character that was messing with the Lannister character from the Triarchy.
Oh yeah, I can't remember
that was
Sea Admiral's
great.
name. That was really good.
They really did a good job of
the
adding
guy
some
that
light
does
humor.
Thailand is fantastic.
Yes,
he's really good.
I think and here's the thing. I do like how one of the things about Game of Thrones, especially in the last few years that got kind of ridiculous, is people were able to move around the Seven Kingdoms at lightning speed. Like they would be at the Wall one day and then the next day they'd be at King's Landing. This show has not done that at all.
No,
I mean, this show has taken a long time for people to get to places, which I like that, right? But I think there is a happy medium when you show the march so much. And literally the last, montage at the end of the finale is the march of all these different factions and all these different armies and dragons in different places. And then you don't even give us a taste of what is to come. We have to wait for probably, well, if it's anything like season 1 to season 2 gap, 2 years till 2026. So all I'm saying is I like the season. I really, really enjoyed it. I liked the finale. I just wish they would have given us a taste of the coming battle. Like,
so you like the foreplay, but it's time to go, is what you're saying.
It's time to go. Like,
we need to get penile to vaginal contact. Like, we need to make this happen. But dude, even Game of Thrones, I mean, it was season 7, season 8 before we really got to the crux of that show, like the actual story of that show.
Oh yeah, but there were some great. What I'm talking about is battles, right? That's the difference between this and something like you were talking about Better Call Saul. Is there were no epic battles in Better Call Saul. Like we needed a good epic battle. And again, I don't need to see all of it, the Dance of the Dragons. I don't need to see everything. You got to save something for season 3 or season 4, but give me like, I don't know, if they would have given me 10 minutes and maybe a really interesting plot point in one of the battles where somebody dies or something dramatic happens and then ended it. Because Brian, the foreplay was great, but I need 5 or 10 minutes. I don't need much more than that.
You need 2 minutes.
But I would have taken 2 minutes of action in that. I got none. I got 0 minutes of battle in that show. I wanted to see a little bit of dancing dragons or at least fighting of some kind.
There's so many people to fit in here, whether it's Laris or what I'm calling the HOA, which is Huel, Ulf, and Adam. They're the homeowners association
nice.
Of Dragon Riders. I think I'm the first to coin this. If it's been somewhere else, forgive me, but I'm pretty sure I'm the first to come up with the HOA.
You should trademark that.
I should, but I mean, just whether it's Corlys or Hugh the Hammer or Ulf or Massaria or Jason or Thailand. I mean, you have Lady Bella Targaryen. There are so many characters. It's such a huge world, and there's so much to do. And I'm glad that they're giving the time for like Rhaena Targaryen to go to the Vale and find her dragon. Like that's going to be really cool. Yeah, I mean, spoiler alert. The big one is obviously Lord Hightower being imprisoned. Otto Hightower.
Yeah.
Like,
we don't know
who is
who
holding
or where,
him prisoner?
Yeah.
Like, why is he a prisoner? For someone who's been so valuable to the show, he's just like in a dungeon. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, no, I agree. All right. So overall, season 2, give me your grade as a whole.
Wow. I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. Can I give half stars? Is that allowed? Are they stars?
I guess. I don't like half
Okay,
stars.
I'll go 8 out of 10 then. 8 out of 10.
You? I think I'm with you. I'm going to say 8 out of 10 as well. I agree with you. Flirting with a 9. I'm going to go with 8, flirting with a 9. I thought this season was a market improvement on season one. I think they raised their game. I think in particular, everything was better, I think, but in particular, the writing. I thought the writing was so good and clean and helped move the story forward, developing all these characters. I give them a lot of credit. And so I want to be clear, despite my criticism of not being completely satisfied, shall we say, with the finale, I am definitely all in for season 3 if I'm still alive in 2026 or whenever it finally gets here.
I mean, do I want to watch season 3 right now? I want to watch season 3 right now. And but that's part of the problem with culture. And when I say problem, I don't mean it like it's some terrible thing, but like when you are doing a show week to week, like we're just so I'm going to go back and watch Dexter. Like Dexter is probably the next show I'm going to watch.
Oh, wow.
I just started the Designated Survivor with Kiefer Sutherland. I'm going to watch all 3 seasons of that. But as soon as I finish that, I'm going to move on to Dexter. But I know going into it that I can watch it at my leisure. Like,
dude, The Bear. You have to watch The Bear. I've been telling you. What are you waiting for?
I'm getting to
it. The Bear. You will love it. I can.
Have you watched Designated Survivor?
No, that was an ABC show back in the day, right?
I'm not sure, but it's definitely on Netflix. There's definitely 3 seasons. But here's the thing: it's Kiefer Sutherland in DC.
Is it
24? Good? Like, I want to be clear on 24. Was 24 a great show? No, 24 was not a great show. Did I love 24? Oh my God, did I love that show?
Oh, the novelty of it alone was amazing. With each show hour real time was awesome. All right, Brian, any last reviews or final thoughts before we get out of here this week?
I know you're on a time crunch. You want to tell the people why you're on a time crunch?
Oh, yes. I'm going to be appearing on Fox News tonight, although by the time anyone hears or sees this, it will already be over. But
what are you guys going to be talking about?
That show? Politics of some kind. I'm not 100% sure right now what it is.
How high will your hair be?
Okay, you see how high
it's a little flat right now.
Do you know what?
Why I'm concerned. Do they have people there that will take care of this for you?
I recently got a cut.
Oh, you did?
This is maximum height at its current.
If you're watching on YouTube, you can see it. But for our listening audience, I would say you have 2 to 2.5 inches up top. I like Eric with a solid, 5-inch poof.
Whoa! Be careful,
dude. You're like 6'7" when you get it up, like when you have it that high, and it's phenomenal.
Were you going to say when I get it up? This has been a weird episode. We've been talking about a lot of penis references in this episode.
I think it's appropriate for what we do here. It's fine.
That's true. It's right up.
It's
right
up our alley.
All right, that's all for today. Oh, by the way, no show next week. We're taking a summer hiatus, so we'll be back in 2 weeks, Brian, which is the week of the Democratic National Convention. So get excited.
Times.
For Brian Johnson, I'm Eric Messersmith. Thanks for hanging out with us. We hope you enjoyed the show, but if not, please take no offense.